to CMC Stamps with Trisha Williams. Yeah, my voice sounds funny because I happen to be under the weather. Don't worry, I'm not a man, not a frog. I just have a funny voice. But who loves Halloween? I have pumpkins all over my house. My 2.5-year-old always says, "Pumpkin, Mom, pumpkin." It's so cute. So one of my favorite times of year. So in that spirit of Halloween, we're doing a card with a really cool witch. She is on her broom and she's over the moon, or like in front of the moon. She's riding the moon, and it actually slides. It's called a slider card. These are one of the funnest cards to make and obviously to play with. Not just if you're a kid, it's just fun. And there's like this really gnarly looking like tree. Anyways, so we're gonna also do this really cool like wash on the back. So let's get to that, and we'll have tons of fun today. I'm going to bring you up above so you can see a different view. All right, ready to get started? So you see some of these really cool little dies. These are used with the Big Shot machine to cut out some shapes. So I used a black cardstock with this guy and cut them out with the Big Shot. So I want to show you how to do that. Well, to show you that I use that material. And the little witch was cut out with that too, and I just flipped her around, put her on the moon. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to show you again up close how to do this, and it's a little bit easier if it's kind of like tilted. But yeah, really cool. What we need is a couple pennies. All right, so I'm going to go over just a quick overview of how we're going to make this card. We use a white cardstock base that opens and folds, open and closed. And then I cut another piece of white cardstock. I'll put the dimensions up, that I sponged over. So this is what a sponge looks like. And I used these ink stamp pads to sponge on that color. So you'll see me do that today. But the very first step is to stamp your moon in Memento black ink. And then what we do, it's really cool. This is called masking. We'll get into this, but basically what I did is I stamped him. Then I stamped it on a Post-it, and it has a little bit of sticky on it. And then I lined it up about where it was at. And it covers it up so that I can sponge right over it and take it off, and it's white underneath after. So that's called masking. So that's what we're going to do. Then we're going to use dimensionals. I've got my dimensionals right here if you want to know what they look like. And our pennies, you can also do this with washers from like Lowe's or the hardware store. And you're going to use dimensionals and put this together and do a little swing. All right, so once we have the moon on, we've sponged our background. Oh, it's so pretty. I love sponging that background. Then we use a slider cutter. So let me show you what it looks like. Looks like this. And it will cut that out in the Big Shot machine, and then that will have that cool slide. And then for those of you coming to my class, I've already cut out your cool little tree, but you would do that using the precision base plate in the Big Shot machine. And then you want to stamp your really cool headstones, tombstones, that's what those are called, tombstones. And then I just cut it in half because the tombstones actually look like this. And I just cut right down here and right there on the edges and put those little guys there. And this is a stamp set we use called Spooky Fun. It is a pretty fun one. All right, let's go ahead and get started now that you've seen kind of the overview of what we're doing, and I've got all my pieces. I do have some of these pieces already cut and ready to go. This is what the cutter looks like to do the tombstones. For this card, I did my tombstones in Memento black ink and white, so we'll use that later. All right, I'm going to set aside the pieces that I don't need, and let's go ahead and get started with the sponging. Now, this gets messy, so I would encourage that you move everything else out of the way. All right, I'm going to keep my card in view so that you guys can see how cool it looks. I'm going to grab my first color called Elegant Eggplant, and as you can see, I already put some on my lid so that I have ink on my lid. This color is super bold, so what I do is I get some on there, and I actually just kind of let some of it off, and then I kind of go from the top down. And it's all about with sponging It's all about going back and forth and layering that pretty bold color. And you can just go as dark as you want, like as dark of a background sun that you want. If you go so dark, it will look black, which is really perfect for Halloween. One thing to be careful of while you're doing this is that you tend to get inky fingers. I'm not joking. You do. You get inky fingers. So as I'm going along, I'm going to make sure that I speed up the video so you're not watching being like, oh, when is it going to be done? Yeah, so for your sake, I'm going to speed up the video. This one I want to do a little bit darker on top than my last one because I just want to experiment. And I realize that my table is shaking. I do these videos on an IKEA table, and I'm totally going to invest in a nicer table one of these days. But you got to start where you got to start, right? And I think that is true with stamping and learning to do your own crafts, is you just start where you're at. You know, and you just gain confidence as you go and you learn new techniques. See why I'm so glad I have that little masking there? Because now it's all covered and I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so I'm just getting a light enough grade of this purple, and as you can tell, I went pretty dark on the top. It's like almost a black, which I really want. I want that cool black sky, ominous black sky that makes you think of Halloween. Ooh. You will occasionally get some streaking. I find the best way to overcome that is just by going over it again, especially when it's still kind of wet. Just kind of layering on top of itself, and I think that kind of takes care of that problem. Don't excuse me. The only other thing to pay attention to is make sure that as you're going, this stays flat down so that you're not going to get any ink underneath there. It's going to have that cool look that you want. Oh man, this is so cool. This is actually quite relaxing. I enjoy doing this. I'm probably going to add a little bit more of the rich raspberry after I get my orange in. Let's see how you can do it in circles to get it to blend. I start going back and forth, and then I eventually start doing circles, and I think that makes it blend a little bit nicer. So, because I want that really good blended look. And this one I'm just doing bolder, darker colors. Wow, it looks cool. I'm happy with how it looks. I can't wait to see when I take it off. That's the fun part. Just be aware with this card and this technique, you're gonna get dirty. I totally have like dirty fingers. Oh my goodness, so crazy. All right. So as long as you're using the same sponge with the same color, meaning I just use this crushed curry with my sponge, I can go onto my pad, my stamp pad, so I know that I'm not mixing colors together. And that's the key with that. All right, we're getting close with this color. I'm just gonna kind of blend it a little bit more, and like I said, one way I'm gonna show you how to blend a little bit better is by bringing the last color that I used back over again. Oh, I love this color. I would encourage you guys to feel free to do things the way that you want to discover something new. And so what I'm saying is this is all about creativity, and you can definitely do it the way that I have done it. But what I would suggest is that you find ways that make it your own. And the ways I do things isn't always the ways that work best for everybody. So keep that in mind. Oh, that's such a cool, ominous looking sky. Ooh, it's becoming Halloween. All right, let's get out So Saffron. And I've got a little bit on my lid already. And this is what we're gonna color the background. See, okay, I didn't show you how cool it was. Look at how murky this thing is. I took it off and it's completely white moon underneath. So you can keep it white, but what I did is I took just a little bit of ink color with my, what is this called? An oil painter. And I kind of just added some color. Now be careful, what I just noticed happened is I got a little too close to some of the outside color and it blended in there. So what I'm doing is just adding a little bit more color to hopefully go over that. Now, if you add too much water, since this is not watercolor paper, you can kind of see what it's doing to my paper just a little bit. But the paper kind of crinkles a little bit if you do too much water, go over it back and forth. So try really hard to just do that lightly. And I use the Agua painter with that. All right, so that part is done. The next part would be to get out the Big Shot and cut it. So I had a little trip to the Big Shot, cut this little guy out. We just can discard that, we don't need it. And we're done with the cutter. But yeah, look at how cool that looks. All right, so let's flip this around to the back. And you've probably seen me use these foam adhesive strips from Stampin' Up. They are awesome. We're going to end up using 1.5 of these. And what you end up doing is you're going to go close to the top. Now, the reason you want to go close to the top is because your penny is going to be running underneath here. And you want to have room to move, okay? All right, so you get to that point and then you cut it off. I'm just going to grab my handy scissors. Alrighty. And this next one will be up a little ways as well, just to give it an extra support in the middle. And then all you need is 1/2 to go along the very top of your card. So what this does is it gives it dimension, and it allows your penny to slide back on the back side of your card. And it just pops up your card so that it will run smoothly. So let's go ahead and get to the next part. I just grabbed, you can do a dimensional or two. It's just whatever you like to do. Now, just wanted to mention that I took this is how it cuts, and I just put her upside down. Well, actually, on the front side is where I put my half dimensional. Take off the backing, and then I flipped her around the opposite direction because I wanted her to be like on the moon, flying in like a cool direction. So you can kind of just figure out where you want her on your moon. Cool. I like it right there. All right, next thing, you're going to grab a full dimensional. You're going to put it on your penny, one of your pennies. And then go ahead and put your penny in the center of where it's going to roll on that little yellow moon there. All right, let's go ahead and grab a dimensional. And we're just going to cut off. Okay, so this is like a hexagon shape, so you get corners. And what do you think of when you think of a wheel? Round, right? Because it's got a roll. So that's what we're doing with this, is we're taking off the corners. So now that we get a round, rolling slider penny. Okay, so that's good enough. You just get it rounded, and then you take off one side of the sticky, put it on the back of your penny. Take your other sticky off and then stick it down one more time. So now you've got all these cool layers. I find it easiest to put it in before you secure it to your card. So basically what you do is take the bottom here and there's an opening between the two pennies. That is a portion that's going to go in between your paper. And then see how this moves up? It's kind of, your paper has some leeway right there in the middle. So you move it up and you slide it in between your pennies. Oh, she slides really nice, you guys. That is so cool. Okay, before I glue it, I want to go ahead and pin down my tree. And I did my tree. I did this one with glue is how I glued it down. Okay, I just need to grab these little dudes and kind of figure out where I want them. Oh, I kind of like it in white. It's fun. It stands out. All right, so I'm going to position these guys first. So I used my multi-purpose Tombow green glue. And you just get a little bit. If you do too much, which I might have done, I'm going to take some of it off. If you get too much, it goes like spewing over the sides, and I'm not a huge fan of that. And what's cool is you got like a couple seconds to move it around before it dries, so I'm going to hurry up and get my other dude on there. Right where I want it. Great. And that is where I want it to be. So now I can go ahead and make sure that it just gets glued in place. And then let's go ahead and glue the back side of your cool gnarly tree. Dude, I love this tree. This has been one of my favorite things. This is where we want it to be. Almost there. I don't want it hitting my sliders, what I'm worried about. So then I'm going to move it down just a hair so that it's going to be... And that's one thing, if you think it's going to hit your slider, you might want to, yeah, got to move it down just a little bit. And I'm glad that I showed you this so that you know that you don't make the same mistake. Just get it down far enough, which means we're going to have to move this guy down. Well, that's fine. It worked out. Oh, cool. That turned out perfect. Okay, so like you learned from me, you want to make sure that it slides, so make sure that your tree is down far enough. It looks so cool. I like it. That's awesome. All right, so turn it around. We're almost done. We're just going to take off the backing of this really cool strip. Foam adhesive strip. I love it. All right, so grab your white cardstock base. And then it's a little heavy, but you just kind of make sure that you can tell it's in the middle. And then put a little bit of pressure down where your strips are at. Make sure it just pops up. Oh my gosh, it looks so cool. Oh, I love it. Okay, and then there you go. Whoa, so cool. We finished our card. That is awesome. Yeah, so it totally works. So there you go. All done. Thanks so much for seeing my video. Right, well, I guess that's it. And happy Halloween this year to you. I hope you enjoyed this and that you get to use it real soon. All right, we'll see you later. Bye.